Hello, Assalamu alaikum, guys. Hope you're well. Thank you for joining in on a Sunday morning. I'm Momina Latif. I'm a creative director here at Brand Matter. I'm also your regular chai and color junkie. I have 10 years of experience working in in-house design teams, creative agencies, and as a freelancer as well. And like all designers, I too spend like an obscene amount of time just thinking about fonts, playing around with them, downloading them, I guess. In fact, like typography is one of the my most favorite things and something that I've been keen on from the very beginning. Over the course of like all of these webinars that we have had from the Creative Loop series, we have touched upon like multiple deliverables that we can do: web design, poster design, motion design, etc. Today, we are going to be focusing on how we can tell like a very cohesive story across all of these touch points through typography. So I think I don't have to go into detail on what the different typefaces are and how we can use different fonts, etc., to convey a message. Best thing about font, I think, is that it has the power to tell like really amazing stories. You can tell the same message in different ways through like different typefaces and fonts, right? So the same message could be anticipated in a different way if you have a touch of humor and if you have the right amount of fonts as well. So that's one thing that I really love about typography. But typography goes beyond communication, right? We know that in today's time where type is our central mode of communication, but it goes beyond communication. When we look at all of the pieces where we're experiencing type, it's also about usability. So think about all of the web apps you use, all of the mobile apps you use, social ads, websites, all of the deliverables that you guys design. At the back of your head, you're not just communicating a message through typography, but it's also about usability. You're thinking about how the message would be perceived by your users, how your user would navigate a website if you're like putting like links in the nav bar. What are they going to read first? So there's a lot of like elements that are part of the entire piece. Let's imagine your favorite app, right? So mine is obviously Instagram. If today you take away like all of the type from the app, it would be really hard to navigate. This is a case for apps that you're familiar with or apps you may be unfamiliar with. But if you take away all of the text from an app or any piece, you would find it really hard to navigate that. Point being that all of the text typography that we use to build our design is key. It's not just communicating, it's sending a message across. And as designers, it's our responsibility to make sure that we are optimizing that message for maximum readability, legibility, understanding, and for our intended users to take away what the intention is. The purpose of this webinar, I'm going to run through 4 main deliverables of brand and outline some key elements of typography across those brands as well. But before we get into that, just like a top high-level idea of what are some of the key points that would apply across the board for the 4 like touch points that we'll cover, and then also apart from those other things as well. So the touch points that I'm going to cover later in this deck is brandings, editorial, social, and website. But these rules apply across the board to all of your other touch points as well. So whether you're doing decks, whether you're doing ads, all of these would take away the same typography rules that you're going to see on these 4 touch points. So first of all, readability and legibility. The prime element for typography is readability. If your text is not readable, then you would not be able to communicate your basic idea. This is especially problematic if you have like larger pieces of text and your text is not legible, it's not readable, then your user would take away nothing, right? Imagine if today like you're reading a blog post and it's entirely in a black letter font, right? Would you be able to read it? You wouldn't, right? Or imagine like if it's in that curls and T font, you wouldn't be able to read it. So optimizing your typography for readability and legibility based on what message and where it's being applied is super important. Next up, we have hierarchy. So what is hierarchy? Hierarchy is basically the art of guiding the viewer's eye to what needs to be read first and what needs to be read in what order, right? So And very often we kind of like get confused that maybe typographical hierarchy is just about using like fonts and sizes, but there's other elements that you can use to actually display it really well. So you can use like font weights, you can use sizes, contrast, layout, and even color to make hierarchy a major element of design and kind of like help navigate the user's eye into that format. Third is consistency. So consistency, when we talk about like brand and different touch points, consistency is very important because you don't want that you're using like a certain font in your brand or the branded website, and then on the socials you're using a completely different font, and on like editorial you're using a completely different font. Ideally, optimizing for consistency across this across all of your deliverables will ensure that you have a cohesive brand language, and it makes your brand more recognizable, right? So, for instance, in this example, you'll see that if I am using like Interpaired with Georgia on your web design, then I would also use it on social, and I would also use it on editorial. And that will do is that it will essentially send a very cohesive recognition factor across to your audience, and eventually they'll start recognizing this pairing, these fonts with your brand. And every time they pick it up, they'll know, even if your logo is not there, it's not like color coordinated with your brand, even then they will be able to pick up that this method seems to be resonating with that particular brand. So consistency across all of these touch points is very important for that reason. And then lastly, responsiveness and accessibility. So at this age and time, we're designing for multiple use cases, right? So we would be designing for web, we would be designing for print, we would be designing like really large banners that go out, we'll be designing like really small stickers. So how can we make sure that our design is responsive? We're mostly designing on like our laptops, so it's easy to lose yourself there. It's easy to forget that, you know, all of these things are going to be going on different sizes, or somebody is going to be looking at this website more often on mobile rather than on desktop. For all of these reasons, it's very important to consider the responsiveness and accessibility, which fonts you're choosing. So for instance, if you're thinking about a brand and you know that, you know, this brand content would mostly go on social, then you would optimize your font choices, you would optimize your font sizes according to that need. This is very important, something that we forget, again, while designing on our digital screens on the same ratio. It does not make for similar sizes. You cannot apply like a 36 point on a social post or on a sticker that's going to be really large, right? So you have to optimize for readability. Again, very seamlessly, all of these points kind of like merge into our first point, which is readability and legibility. Moving forward, there's like 5 key points that we should never forget when playing around with typography. So font selection, right? Most of the people know that it's ideal in ideal case scenarios, you don't use more than 4 fonts because it tends to confuse your user. And again, it's very confusing when you're building a brand cohesion across like multiple touch points. So make sure that you're thinking about like your font selections and your font sizes across like all mediums. Second is color and transparency. Again, for readability, for legibility, for cohesion, it's really, really important that you optimize for contrast and color. You cannot have like a large chunk of text in like really low opacity. If it's not readable, it loses the purpose. And then we have leading, kerning, and text alignment. These 3 points are really important because they basically take your same text and they optimize, right? So leading is your line height. If you have more space, your text would be very easy to read. But if you have like a lot of space, then it will be very difficult for an eye to follow where the next line of the text starts. Similarly, kerning is the line spacing. For like blockier fonts, for like larger fonts, you tend to increase the kerning, or for like say really condensed form, you would increase the letter spacing a little bit so that, you know, it's easier for you to pick up the next word, and it's also like the white space would lend itself to the cohesion of your text. And then text alignment, I think we're all familiar with it, that depending on whatever like language that we're designing for, text alignment makes a huge difference. So for larger piece of text, again, we have seen it in books. Ideally, you use like left alignment. And the reason for that is that it's easier for your eye to pick up where the next line starts, right? For smaller pieces of text, we always keep on experimenting with centerline because it looks more efficient. It's easier to gauge as well. And then we've also seen a huge trend in like right line text as well, just for stylization purposes. It's good as long as you're making sure that it's readable and you wouldn't put like a longer paragraph of text in a right line format, just specific for English, because it would be harder to read, right? So depending on how a language is read, how a language is picked up on, that's where like all of these text alignment rules also play in. So with all of these covered, I will move into one of our first deliverables, which is typography for brand design. Now, brand design is central to all of like touch points, right? Because with brand design, we're basically setting a standard for typography. With brand design, we're picking out a font for our website, our website, our editorial, etc. For an entire like personality, we're building the brand personality with the brand design font. A lot of you who have worked on like brand identities, you would also know that, you know, whenever you're sending out a deliverable file, there's a whole outline on typography, on what fonts you're using for that particular brand and what you're going to pair it with, right? So for the purpose of this webinar, I have this hypothetical brand. It's called Datara. So it's the industry for this is obviously data and tech. And for this logo, you can see that I've picked up a very stocky, blocky font that lends itself to the industry itself, and then also the logo mark. It's very blocky, it's tightly spaced, it's all caps, right? Now, when I have designed this entire logo, we will not nitpick on it, guys, because this is just hypothetical. But the idea is, okay, how do we format the typography for this entire brand, right? So for this logo, I'm using the Geom graphic font, right? And as you can see, it's again like really blocky. It's really squarish. Over here, you will be able to see that it's very hard to kind of like distinguish some of the letters when it's in all caps, right? It works over here because this is a very small letter. But when we go into these longer pieces of text, say for instance, a title or a subhead, right, then it gets slightly more complicated if it's in all caps because it's hard to decipher different letters. For example, see the D and the O, they look very similar. So in this case, I would be leaning towards like this format where it's like a title case, which makes it easier to read because the smaller letters have a different form and it's easier to pick them apart from each other, right? So I would not go for this all caps approach. I would go for this title case approach. Moving forward, again, like even I also try it with like larger pieces of text. So for instance, an entire paragraph. So over here, you can see that even in lowercase and in a larger paragraph, it still gets harder to read. So it's fine in this case where you have like at max 2 or 3 lines of text, right? But when it goes into larger text, then it gets difficult to read as well. So if my brand is related to data and tech, and I am sure that I will be putting on, I would like a lot of like larger pieces of text, or my collateral would be like very significant to larger pieces of information, then in that case, what I'll do is that I'll add a secondary font. For this brand, I have added a secondary font, which is Graphic. And you can see over here that it's your regular sans serif. It's easier to read. Your eyes are familiar with like the sans serif fonts really well. So even with like distinct sans serif fonts, it's easier to pick up the speed. And we see it all the time. And like when we read books, usually the books use like either a very generic sans serif or a serif so that it's easier to read. So your eyes are basically trained to read that. That's why I'm going for like a sans serif for this secondary one. But you can see over here that for our primary font, Geom, I have kept the line length at 120% because it's already like it has a smaller X height and it's like a bit stocky, so it's easier to read. And for this Graphic, I have actually optimize the line height to 140%, so there's enough negative space for you to follow the text. Moving forward, what I do ideally for all of these collateral when I'm putting it together for my clients, etc., then I would set like these standards for the text, right? So I would not identify font sizes, because font sizes are going to vary across deliverables, right? So I'm going to just identify line lengths or kerning, especially for these fonts, so that no matter what font size they apply it on, they have to follow these certain baseline rules. So for Geom, you can see over here that I've set the leading to 120%. I've also opened up the kerning by 1% so that it's easier to read, because it's like very tightly spaced. That 1% adds a bit of space for it to be easier to read. And for Graphique, again, like 140% no kerning. I also tend to like do this, that I identify the colors for the font. So, this lime green, I would ideally not use it for Graphique, because Graphique I'm using for body copy, and that would not create like enough contrast to be read in like larger pieces of text. However, like one thing that I'm noticing with this is that there's not enough contrast between these two in terms of weight, right? So if I'm like using them at the same font size, then there's not enough contrast to be picked up. So in that case, I will actually optimize my typographic scale. So over here, you can see that I have added like a medium weight. This I would ideally use for subheadings. I would not use it at the same font size that I'm using Geom on, but I use it for like smaller subheadings, because I don't want to use Geom on a smaller size. And then for body copy, I would use the lighter weight of Graphique. Again, like at 140%, 0% kerning. So same rules apply. I also sometimes go about and do this, that for headings, like, optimizing the colors so that these are the colors that you're using across like headings, body copy, links, etc. These are not like set rules, because, as designers, it really comes based on like what kind of like content there is and what kind of like touch point you're designing it for. But these are like general rule of thumbs that would apply, but they're not like set in stone. So this is a good place to kind of like get your client started, or even if you're passing it off to other designers, it gives them a very good baseline for your brand. Now with this, let's move into editorial. We've set the basic guidelines of text for our brand. Now we'll apply the same thing to our editorial piece. So typically when we get content for for like editorial, this is how it's coming in, right? It's not formatted, or it's barely formatted, and it's just like one big block of text. And it's up to us as designers to basically help visualize it in a way where it's very easy to track information, scan information, right? So with editorial, it's very important to pay attention to these 4 points that I've aligned over here. So line length, obviously. So what is the ideal line length for shorter text, and what is the ideal line length of longer text? You can't have like a line length that's like 36 words per line, because that would be impossible to read and your user will lose interest in the middle. Similarly, what kind of format you're designing for. So even for editorial, are you designing for like print? Are you designing for digital? And if it's going for print, what is the sizing? What is the optimal font for print, etc. And then like obviously text alignment as well. So whether you're using like a centralized alignment, left aligned, etc. All of the points that we covered earlier. So I'm going to use the same content, and I'll walk you through the flow of designing like a one-pager with the same content. So I start with like setting my anchors. For me, my anchors are the logo and the footer. So with the footer, I know that, it is the last level of information in the hierarchy. I want it to be just there in case the user needs it. So what I'll do is that I'll set it, and then also it's a baseline that, your content cannot exceed this point. So over here, you can see that I've put the footer in. It's at a smaller size, so it's 8 pixels, still readable, but a color that's not very high contrast with the white as well. It's still contrast, but it's not going to compete with the main text when I put it in. Second thing is the main heading, right? So over here, I'm using the brand colors, and I'm using the main brand font, again, at the same settings that we set it at, 120% and 1% kerning. And then I will put in my body copy. So here I have my main body copy. With body copy, ideally, like you can see that, I've set it at 11 point or 10 point over here. And it's tricky to come up with like an ideal body copy font, because your X height varies from font to font, right? So for most cases, like ideal line ideal font size for print and digital is 10 to 11 pixels. What I tend to do, and this is a pro tip for you guys, that if there's a font that you work with a lot, so for instance, for me, it's Inter. So with Inter, I know that what sizes would appear in print, what would be the ideal sizes, how would they go digital. So in that case, what happens is that if you have Inter specified, then you can compare your whatever font that you have picked, you can compare it with Inter and see what your optimal size is without having to go back and forth and, like having to take multiple prints of the graphic, and I kind of like finding the right font size for that. So set the font size to 10 pixels over here, and then I will go in with the rest of my content. So over here, you can see that even for my secondary heading, I'm using the Geom font because it's a shorter piece of text. I'm using it at 16 pixels. It's pretty readable. And then I have my other pieces of text over here. Now, these are 3 text pieces. And again, like I'm pairing these subheads with the graphic medium. So it's not Geom again, because that would make it like, that would stack the Geom, and I don't want that. It would be harder to read. Another key point to realize over here is that sometimes when you are working with like these blocks of text, right? So similar blocks of text in column, you will end up with this widows and orphan situation, which is not ideal. So in a lot of these cases, you can use like minor adjustments to your fonts or like minor adjustments to kerning or text boxes to fix that. If not, then it's recommended that you work with your content writer or your marketeer to rephrase the text a little bit so it can fit a bit better, and it visually kind of like falls in line with the rest of the pieces as well. So I would love for this piece of text to be the same 5 lines that we have in these 2, and then I would also try to eliminate the orphans over here. So now I have all of the rest of the pieces as well. Another thing over here is that when I was putting these in, this particular heading was 2 lines, whereas these were just single lines, right? So what I tend to do in these cases is that I would just make sure that all of these headings are 2-liners so that visually it's not disruptive. Visually, it does not make for space over here or over here if these are single lines, right? So again, either adjust it with your content writer or like break the text so that it's visually similar, so the eye does not have to accommodate like that extra spacing, negative spacing, and that can be very awkward. So this is our like final 1-pager piece with all of the typography rules, etc., that we set in the brand identity part of things. Here I have like done an adaptation of the same design on like a darker background in case the client would need that, or like this format. This is the kind of format that could go digitally as well. For print, I would opt for like the white version because it's optimal contrast and easy to read. For the darker version, I would set it for digital, and ideally would not even recommend that because it gets very harsh to read. So a lot of the time in these situations, you would need to like present these facts to your client so that they're familiar with the fact that this would not be an ideal case scenario. And if you back it up with enough reasoning and logic, then they are bound to agree as well if they're like good clients. Here I have another example. So if, for instance, you're doing a poster design rather than a 1-pager design, right? How would you use the same fonts? So again, same fonts, same colors, and have been optimized for the poster content. Again, over here, this is like a 16 or a 14 point. This is like 48 pixels. And this over here is a 14 point as well. So that, it's optimal for readability. With posters, you usually don't have like a large amount of text, so you can just play into that and use a bit of like larger font sizing. Repeating that point of accessibility and responsiveness, a lot of the times these days when we're putting content out there, whether it's editorial, so for instance, think about like case studies or think about blogs, right? They're also going on your mobile, and a lot of people are consuming it on mobile. So ideal case scenario, test your 1-pager on mobile as well. Usually like mobile apps optimize your PDF for visibility on mobile, but check in with your client to see what their user base is, where they're getting more traction, and if you need to optimize that entire 1-pager for mobile. And this is like a great segue into the social piece as well, because when you're doing posters specifically, then it gets like, we don't have large amount of text. We have like smaller pieces of text, but you still want to ensure that that text is readable. So for instance, if you're doing a social post, right, you would want that readability and legibility to still be there. Now we'll talk about socials. So specifically for social, they're not like, at this point, they're not like set rules for typography, right? Because there's so much going on in social. There's so many trends. So we see all kinds of like text. At one point, we used to say that, like you can't use more than like a certain number of characters on socials. But now we see like that we're using all sorts of fonts. We're playing around with like the content, the amount of content that we're putting in there. We're playing around with carousels. We're playing around with different fonts. And, all of these things are getting traction based on what people like and what people don't like. Still, there are a couple of things that you can use, a couple of rules that you can use to optimize usability and optimize what kind of like reactions you are getting on social, right? So first thing is, again, like I mentioned, design with mobile first in mind. So because we're designing on our laptops does not mean that that's the way it's going to look. It's going to be really large. So make sure that whenever you are designing something, test it on mobile. It's very easy. Just WhatsApp it to yourself or use apps like Figma Mirror to actually see what your design looks like on mobile if everything is readable. And if everything is readable and digestible. Again, like obviously with socials, there's a lot more factors that kind of like carry on, like what kind of colors you're using, what kind of content is there. But specifically for typography, the most important point is that that it's readable. Like whatever content that you're putting on social is readable. If it's not readable, then you have like failed the first task. Second point is that keep it short and scannable. So even if you have like larger pieces of text, ideally you have seen that there would be like a really good tagline that hooks you in, right? So a smaller piece of text, your ideal goal is to just get the user hooked, and that way they're opening the post and then reading the rest of the text. And you can do it in a really good manner. You can use like display fonts to kind of like get the user intrigued and then tap into your social post and then follow up with the rest of the stuff. And then third thing is that establishing clear hierarchy of content. Now in a lot of these situations in today's time, we see that there's a whole load of carousels and stories that are going on social. So, and a lot of people who are putting together these content, they're doing it really beautifully. They have like a lot of these content pieces put together, or they're doing a series. So again, they're establishing a hierarchy with their content, and they're combining styles to tell that story, right? So over here in this example, you see that we have the logos. Over here, we have the name of the series. We have one major headline that acts as a hook, and then they have like some minor data over here, which could be crediting the designer, or they could be talking more about the series. So even in this piece, you have like multiple text touch points. However, you will read this one first, focusing on the highlight, then you will read this one. Then this is like completely tertiary information that you would or would not read, right? So it's done like the hierarchy of this entire social post is done beautifully. And then again, like how can you establish brand cohesion? So while yes, a lot of brands are using kind of like going all over the board and testing out a lot of the ideas, if you are a new brand, I would highly recommend kind of like leaning into your fonts and brand space to actually uplift that brand and develop a recognition with your customer base. So these are like 4 examples of the Datara social images. Again, using the same hierarchy, same fonts, same similar sizes, and sending like the same message across in different formats. So we have like a text heavy post, we have like a simple image with text post, and all of these pieces like bring together eventually. Like if I send out like 30 pieces like that, then the next post that I do, if it's just black with the Geom font, it would be recognizable with the Datara brand. If I do away with the logo, it would still be recognizable. So over here, I'm solely using typography to build recognition for the brand. And then again, like the last point is be mindful of sizes and margins. So make sure that the a negative space is lending itself to your design. Sprout does a really good like updated guide to social media sizes, and I would highly recommend like checking that out and making a note of that if you're like constantly working on social posts. Then we move into typography for web design. Typography for web design is probably like something we use the most because again, it's going into like web apps as well. So there are two kinds of like contents on websites, right? You have like your short form content, which is your web pieces, your general like homepage, about, etc., and you have long form content. Again, these are the case studies or the blogs that you are putting out there. These are like long formats of text that people are consuming. And again, like one major aspect of web design always is how it translating into responsive design. So how it translates onto your devices, whether it's mobile, whether it's tablet. So as of early 2025, 63% of your traffic is coming in from mobile. So it's just like a given for a lot of the designs that we're doing that they should be optimized for mobile. Every other person has a mobile phone in their hands. So you want to make sure that when they are accessing your website, the messaging, the typography is optimized for that. You can't have like a haphazardly put together typeface for like mobile, and that it looks very pretty, very elegant on the desktop, but when it kind of like goes into mobile, it breaks. So there are a couple of rules and considerations that we can take to make sure that that does not happen for us, and we are basically showcasing the same brand cohesion, the same experience on mobile like we're doing in desktop. So number one point is to use web-safe fonts. So what are web-safe fonts? Web-safe fonts are basically fonts that are pre-installed in your system, and they're installed even like on older devices, they're pre-installed, which means that, when you're loading a page, it renders a lot faster. If I'm putting in like a very fancy font, which may not be preloaded on somebody's device, it would not render, and it will kind of like go onto like a fallback font, which would be one of these fonts. So, and a lot of like fonts are now like web safe, so they render faster. But ideal case scenario for like all of these, please check that your fonts are web safe. They also speed up page performance because they're reducing load time, and there's less bounce rate, and there's no like weird fallback fonts. These are some examples of web safe fonts. So ideally, I know these are boring fonts, so you don't want to go for them, but make sure like whatever font you're going for, if they are web safe, right? And or there is usually like a web version of those fonts, so make sure that your developer is integrating those. Second thing is that optimizing for your audience demographic. This is super important, guys, because the age that we are in, when we are designing, you have to set context, right? If I am designing a website that's for like an older audience, right, I would not probably use the same rules or the same font choices that I would do if I'm designing a website for say millennials, right? Even for I think like Gen Z these days or Gen Alpha, your font choices would differ, right? Because again, this is a hook. So you're using typography as a hook to engage your user, right? So for older audience, it's a lot easier to describe because, they would have a harder time reading. So you would pick up fonts that are really, really, really legible, that have like a larger X height, that can be read like from a distance as well. And then, super high contrast. You have to make sure that it's super high contrast. So all of this would make a difference. Even like, with older audience, even increasing the line height would make a huge difference. So these are key considerations for whenever you are designing. Make sure that you have your audience in mind, because that's going to make a difference on how you're treating your typography. So even for the Datara brand, if I'm designing something that's very specific to like an older audience, I would not even use like the geom for like the subhead. I would only use it for the title on that bigger scale. I would actually like take away a lot of like the smaller font sizes. I would not design it on like 11 point. I would increase it and maybe like keep the minimum point size to like a 12, which would be readable for them. And then again, like testing it out, right? The third one is defining and sticking to a typographic scale. So again, this is something that we discussed really early on, that we have to keep the font sizes uniform, we have to develop hierarchy, and within like our brand section we had set all of these rules that what spacing needs to be, what the kerning needs to be. And the idea is that is the typographic scale that is being used and then applied across the board. And again, you're optimizing for legibility. So for mobile or web, ideally, like the base font that you use for body copy does not go below 16. However, like this is also relevant on what kind of fonts you're using. So if you're using a font with like a larger X height, it can go to say 14 pixel. However, if you're using a font size that has a smaller X height, I would recommend kind of like bumping up the font size to 18 pixels for optimal readability. For mobile, ideally, you don't go below 14 pixel at all, because it gets really hard to read. So again, this is a trial and error, and you need to keep like testing out whatever your font choices are, so that you can optimize for that readability factor and also like maintain that hierarchy as well. So you obviously wouldn't put your like main captions, etc., in like a 16 point or 14 point. You would put like your metadata or your footer information in those font sizes. Usually, like when I am doing like web design, I would define like a typography scale. So this is a great example for that I would define like web typography and mobile typography. So over here, you will be able to see on how like the headings, sizes, etc., they translate from web to mobile. If I'm using like the display on web as 64 pixel, that has to be bumped down when it comes to mobile, right? I cannot use a 64 pixel font on mobile. So all of these sizes, similar pattern, but you size down for mobile so that it translates really well, and you have to ensure that the contrast and hierarchy is maintained throughout. So this is just an example of something that you can share with the clients when you're handing off a website, or just as a baseline for yourself and for other designers, something that you can create. And then using color, again, like I mentioned earlier in the meeting, that font sizes can be used to develop hierarchy, but with web, when you have a lot of information, you have a lot of metadata as well, how can you use like that to your advantage and make sure that people are reading what you want them to read first, right? So color is a great way to build that hierarchy. Lean into color. It's not just for decoration. You have to come up with like a color scale and adapt that color scale to your typography. For instance, like, we have all seen that the primary brand colors are used for CTAs because they attract immediate attention, right? They are also used for like any data sets that you might have. Secondary fonts are used for like metadata or like secondary information, eyebrow text, etc. And then you have like your accents or highlights that are used for like links or icons. So lean into color, lean into like other aspects of typography that can help you create that hierarchy and help streamline your visual architecture of your website. Now, using the same fonts, the same colors, etc., I put together like a sample piece for the Dtara website. I'm using like the same 4 colors that we saw initially. So we have the grays. Again, the primary color, I'm only using it for the CTAs because it's an immediate grab. I wouldn't use it for text again because it has a really light contrast, so I'm not using it for text. And then I'm just using like the darker blue gray that I had for my headings and subheading. I'm using the same hierarchy structure as well. So we have the geom for headings and title, and then for all my subheads and my body copy, I'm using Ruffy. Similarly, it translates into mobile as well, as you can see over here. So you have like the same kind of like brand cohesion coming in. The first point is, again, designing for long form content. Again, using a typeface that's designed for extended reading. This is very important and something I want to show you that Medium does really well. I think we're all familiar with Medium. Medium has a lot of like long form content that we are consuming every day. This is what their homepage looks like. So they are using Helvetica on their main website across like all of this information. They have built out their hierarchy entirely by color and font weight, but they are using Helvetica throughout. However, when you go into a Medium blog, it changes to a serif. That's because serifs are easier to read and they're easier to pick up, right? And your eye finds it a lot easier to follow the serif font. So they have switched to a serif when they go for long form copy, but they have not kind of like left the rest of the rules at the door, right? They're still building hierarchy. They're still using like their main Helvetica font as an anchor for headings. They are using like italics to kind of like break down the content. So with long form content, it's not just about setting the font and the line height. It's also about making sure that you're formatting the font so that your content is readable, right? So again, choosing a typeface that's designed for extended reading, having an ideal line height. So at 140 to 160% is the ideal line height for extended reading. And then how many characters do you have in a line? That's also very important. Again, like I said, you can't have 36 words in a line and expect people to read the entire block of text with 36 words per line. So you need to cut down the text and aim for like at least 60 to 70 words per line, characters per line. And then optimizing the font size as well. High contrast and then spacing as well. Even in paragraphs, not just the line spacing, but also paragraph, it needs to be optimized so that your eyes can follow the content and not to forget hierarchy at all. So this was the last piece of it. To recap, these are all of the kind of like content touch points that we discussed within this webinar. As you can see, this is the Datara brand that we put together, all of the web pieces, print pieces, social pieces that we put together with the same typography. And you can see that it immediately tells like a fully cohesive, harmonious story. And that's coming through with the color and the typography specifically. So these are the major rules that you set across these touch points. Again, all of these rules apply to other touch points as well, your other deliverables as well that are not covered within this webinar. You would basically take the same typography guidelines that you started with in your brand and optimize it for your deliverables throughout. The way you're doing it for editorial, you would do the same way for presentations, but you would optimize it, right? So for instance, if you would need to know whether your deck is being consumed like online or is it like an in-person presentation where the audience is sitting. So in that case you need to ensure that the font is big, the slides are not crowded so that the people in the back can see it. But if it's digital, then you're able to kind of like move around with like smaller font sizes and adding like animations to add more text in. Again, typography is not about choosing fonts, it's about crafting clarity and shaping experience. Always think that your design comes from an angle of usability, and all of the design decisions that you take are intentional and they have a brand logic or a design logic that's backing it up. So this is how you basically use typography to build recognition and cohesion across all of your deliverables.